You've been opposed to vaccines now for a long time, very heavily critical of the COVID vaccine.
That's not true.
Well, you're not a vaccine denier, but you are a very, very sceptical, very public voice of skepticism about the efficacy of vaccines. Would that be fair?
What I've said is vaccines, I'm not anti-vaccine. I think vaccines should be subject to the same level of rigorous testing as other medications. And that is the only thing, my only position. Listen, I fought to get mercury out of fish for 40 years, and nobody called me anti-fish. I'm not anti-vaccines just because I want safe vaccines. And I think everybody wants safe vaccines. And as we all now recognize, the COVID vaccines were neither safe nor effective.
Well, that is, hang on. That is, as you know, heavily disputed by a lot of top scientists who say that comparative to other vaccines, it was very safe. Obviously, like all vaccines, it's had issues. Obviously, they had to move at the speed of light because it was a novel virus that was killing a lot of people. But it wasn't an unsafe vaccine.
If you look at the countries that did not vaccinate, they had the lowest death rates. They had the lowest COVID and infection rates. And if you look at the Johns Hopkins data, which is the data everybody relies on, there's a direct correlation between excess deaths in nations, in the Western nations, that heavily vaccinated and the level of COVID vaccination. So if you look at excess deaths, how many people died that shouldn't have died at the end of the year? The vaccine cause is associated, because we don't know, we can't say cause because it's a correlation. But the deaths in the nations that heavily vaccinated, which were much higher than those that didn't. I'll give you an example. We in our country, we're one of the most heavily vaccinated countries in the world. We also had the highest COVID death rate in the world. So we have 4.2% of the global population. We have 16% of the COVID deaths. That's not a success story. How can anybody point to that and say, unfortunately, the vaccines were a benefit?
Listen, we've run out of time. I certainly don't.
Listen,
I've got to end it there.